Hey guys, and welcome back to the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla.
I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be talking about Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. So this is going to be a board game that is set in the Elder Scrolls universe, I
Sure,
guess.
the series of video games, I guess.
Correct, by Bethesda. So this is officially licensed from Bethesda, coming from Chip Theory Games. And it is specifically, I took notes on this, it is specifically set during Tamriel's Second Era. So there is a betrayal plot happening, and you are an adventurer here who is going out, gathering clues, and trying to identify this betrayer and stop the plot, right? So
Sure.
yeah. Neither of us are super familiar with the
Right.
video game. It's one that I've toyed with a little bit, but I'm definitely more experienced in the world from this board game at this point. Right. So we're not going to do an overview or a how to play on this because we have already done coverage on the channel. We did a live play where the Chip Theory actually came down and was there kind of walking us through, so we know we got all the rules right.
Right.
And then Mike did a solo playthrough as well. So if you're interested in how to play, we recommend you check out those resources first to kind of understand what we're talking about. But with that, let's jump right in here and let you know what we think. All right, so like we said, we don't have a lot of familiarity with the video game. I've toyed around with it a couple hours, and that's all. Enough to know that I'm really bad at it. That's about it. I am very good at dying.
Yeah, I've played little bits of a couple of the games in the series, but I'm not deep in the lore by any means. But it also wasn't something that was a turnoff for me. You know, I think it's a very well-realized world, obviously.
Right. Do you feel like not knowing the lore and having that connection to the video game, do you feel like that added or took away or influenced at all your experience?
Well, I guess in the sense that if I were a big fan of that IP, it probably would have been even more of an interest. Where I'll tell you where I think that it also could influence is your knowledge or background with Too Many Bones.
Yes.
Which is an earlier game from Chip Theory, and this is not like just a skin or re-theme of Too Many Bones, but it has enough mechanical things that tie it back that's what kind of got me into it.
Right. I think they've been pretty open about that this is a Too Many Bones iteration of that system.
Right.
You know, and if you're a fan of Too Many Bones, which we both are, you're definitely going to see those roots there. And I'll just flat out say early on here, I think that this is an improvement on that system. I think it is a new iteration, and I'm grateful to see those roots, but by no means does it feel like Too Many Bones 2.0.
No. It
does feel different enough that it is a unique product. Not knowing much about the video game, I think I was in a similar vein. I was very like, sure, I'll try it. I was actually kind of intimidated by it, though, because I know there is so much lore and so much love there. I didn't know if I was going to be left behind in the story. And I was really pleasantly surprised that that's not the case. I felt like I did not need a bunch of background to understand and follow what was going on. There's a lot of interactions and adventures and things like that maybe there's some call-outs and little winks to the video game that I'm missing, but I never felt that. I think that's hard to do when there is such a backlog and catalog and world and canon and all these things to not make me feel stupid. I didn't feel like I was left behind in it, and so I think that was really well done. That being said, I also kind of feel like because I don't have that background, it kind of felt just like generic fantasy to me, and that's not my preferred. I prefer like sci-fi, science fiction and stuff. And so there's a couple times where I was like, oh, that's just cool. Another name I don't know how to pronounce. So it felt a little bit generic fantasy because of my lack of experience.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yeah. I guess, and we're going to talk about this quite a bit, where some of that generic aspect kind of started going away for me was just in the ways you can customize, right? And so maybe I didn't have a background with what a Khajiit was, but I'm like, oh, there's a feline-looking thing. I like that, and I'm going to make it an archer, and that's the part of this game that really shines. I know we wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to. Yeah, we can get into the customer creation and customization.
Yeah, to me, that's really the shining hallmark of this game. Two things. One is that there's so much customability. No. There's so many ways, there's so many ways to customize your character, and it really gets me as a gamer invested in the game because I really do feel like this character that I've created is unique to me, and it's not going to be exactly like it would be very unlikely anyone else is going to have the exact same character as
Absolutely.
you, because not only are you choosing kind of the race, you're choosing different abilities for it that you're going to be training for. You're going to be choosing different skill dice, and it's just mind-boggling to me how many different options you have as a gamer in creating your own character, and it evolves as you play the game as
Right.
well. So even from the beginning, you've got a pretty unique setup, but as you go on, it becomes even more varied and rich and just fully realized.
Right, and I feel like you're saying, you create the character in the beginning, and that already feels asymmetric and unique. And then as you go through, and you don't reclass, but you add classes to it. And then as you get further in the campaign and further in each play session, as you have to start balancing those skills,
Right.
because of that shared skill line, where you can't just be maxed out on everything. Right. To be really high in one means really low in another, and so you have to also balance it, which is its own unique aspect of it as well. And so it does feel like, while to me there was this generic kind of fantasy background, it so quickly becomes a personal experience.
Yeah.
You know, that you're in a very unique gameplay each time you play, each time you talk to somebody else who plays, that you are building I don't want to say a person, but a character.
Yeah.
You know, and so it really grabs that RPG feel very, very well and makes it personal. I absolutely think a lot. And with that as well, I think that it's really, really good with the amount of XP that you get. It's very generous.
Yeah.
And I love that, especially because every game is going to be a three game series, a campaign, mini campaign, whatever word you want to put on it. You play 3 sessions.
Right.
Right. And you level up through the session. You're getting XP. You're healing and going into the next one, up to 3 to kind of complete your mission. And I was really impressed with how much you're leveling up in the actual play.
Yeah.
I think when I was first getting into it, I kind of expected that, like, okay, cool, yeah, it's too many bones. I'm coming from that. I know I get more skill set and more dice, but then do I have to start over? You know, something like that. No, you are getting XP constantly through the play session. It's not get all the XP and save it up, and then in between sessions you level up. No, it's just that constant leveling up, constant excitement, constant decision space that you have to make. Like, do I want to go into this aspect? Do I really want to go into the archer ability, or do I want to get a little more agile and maybe go into some shadow, something like that. And so it's just this constant investment into your character that I really like. And so I'm so glad how generous it is with those opportunities.
Right, and what also is nice about it is that you're not gaining XP solely through combat. You know, a lot of times in these games, and I would say even too many bones, a lot of times it's like, okay, too many bones is really a series of melee battles that you're kind of facing off on, and the stuff in between those battles are relatively inconsequential. That's not the case here. There's a lot of game outside of those, battles where you're actually setting them up on a play space. And you can gain experience through a number of different ways. It's not solely through fighting in those things, although I think you're going to get a lion's share of your experience through those battles. But I appreciate that as well, the fact that you are gaining opportunities to gain experience depending upon what your character is particularly well versed in as well, which I think is very, very nice. And I do like the fact that in this game, I am as engaged in the parts where you're traversing through the map and you're going to towns and you're doing the town things and you're having the peaceful and the non-peaceful encounters as I am in those kind of more fully realized setup scenarios where you're having some type of battle puzzle that you're dealing with. Yeah.
In so many of these games, we see that there's usually that phase or that part of the game that you like better. I really like the exploration, but I don't like the battles. Or I really like the battles. No, I'm really excited about the variation of this, and that it's not just one battle. It's a lot of little battles, and you're kind of plotting your own course. Town is its own adventure and its own kind of fun, and I really like that. Like I said, coming from a lot of too many bones in the background, the one thing that I would say for me that was a very clear upgrade into this is the cooldown system of the dice. I really, really like that, where as you use your skills and your dice, they go into cooldown. You might have things that are going to junk up that cooldown slot, but you're managing that yourself, and that's also something that you can upgrade, is how many are cooling down and how often. That's the one clear thing that if you come to too many bones, it's like, oh, that was so so nice and so clean.
Yes.
Such a step up.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of incentivizes you to take some risks that you might not otherwise because, yeah, I am going to exhaust myself, but I have built my character in such a way that I can take bigger risks because I have invested in the things that allow me to remove more of those dice out of my cooldown. So that is nice. It is a clean system. It plays into your player board itself as its own kind of puzzle, like you said, where you've got to manage those skill lines. Really clever mechanically how that works, and you can see it visually, so you're not having to internalize it. It's right there in front of you. Very smart way of handling it. And yeah, I agree. I think the cooldown is a huge step up. And to me, the other aspect of this that is a clear kind of evolution of this system is just how expansive it is. There is so much content in this game that while it can feel overwhelming, right? If you just look at it as its full breadth, it is overwhelming. But the structure of it being, look, you're going to be playing these 3 scenario kind of things makes it much more of a feeling where it's like, okay, I don't have to climb this whole mountain in one step.
Right.
But you know what? If I want to spend months playing this game, you could absolutely do that. There is so much content here. It's ridiculous how much content just in the core box. There's already expansions, there's other stuff you can add. Just in the core box, you have such a rich experience. If this becomes your group's game or your game, because you can play it solo as well, you've got so much content.
This could be your lifestyle game, for a while that you're just playing through and taking all the different paths and building all the different classes and characters and everything for sure. One thing that I want to talk about, and you talked here about, like, you can see it so clearly in front of you. I really do like that, like how clearly your player board is laid out. And we see a lot of that in Too Many Bones. It's a step up from it. I think it's very clear. But just like Too Many Bones, where Too Many Bones has a keyword soup, right? I mean, it's got hundreds of keywords that you have to memorize and reference and everything. This game is going to have that as well, and I think it leans even more into symbology. Yeah. Where, when you're playing Too Many Bones, you have your character, which you have to learn that entire character. This one almost feels like you have to learn everything because you have to understand all the different ways your characters can go. Sure. So there is going to be a huge amount of overhead and a pretty big barrier to entry into this game. And I think for me, that barrier to entry is worth it, but with at least a 2-hour playtime per session, then, and that first one, probably expecting closer to like 5 hours, I would say.
Just getting your bearings and
Right, because I don't think the rule book is great. I think it's not their worst.
No, no.
Chip Theory is not one that I point to for having superb rule books or even great rule books. But I feel like this is in line with their others. It can be its own barrier to entry. And on top of that, it's very symbol heavy. Yes. And you do feel like you have to learn everything in order to understand the choices you're making. So that is quite a big, for me, a barrier to entry in this game.
Yeah, and you are making a lot of decisions before you take your first turn in the game.
Yes, absolutely.
So I agree with you there. Like any lifestyle game like this, there is definitely a learning curve, a significant learning curve, and it's one that you're gonna be referring to the rule book. I mean, even after your 3rd, 4th game, you're gonna be referring to that rule book. Absolutely. There's just no question about it. They have found some errata already. That's to be expected in a game with all this much. But I do know, that they're continuing to kind of address that, and I think there's living rule books online and things along those lines. But I agree with you 100%. This is a game that is not a quick grab off the shelf and play. You're not going to learn it in 15 minutes. No. You're not going to be playing within a half hour. It's just not the way it works.
Ideally, you'll have somebody who knows how to play, kind of holding your hand through it. And if not, just like expect this is, if not a whole day, it's a whole weekend, kind of first play. And with that as well comes, for me, the negative of the table space. This is a huge table hog, specifically in your player area, because each of those skills that you get are going to come with their own fantastic player aid that have layers that you can level up and explanations. So I'm so glad I have that. But that means as the game goes, your player space is just progressing.
Every time you're getting a new, skill thing, you're popping it on. Now I need to know how this works. I need to know how this works.
Yeah, and I mean, so to me, it almost just table space alone makes it a 2-player game because I would not want to be sitting next to each other, or else we're constantly, bumping. I feel like we would need to sit side by side. You almost need eight person table or something. It's
Yeah.
quite a table hog.
Yes. Really quickly, speaking of table count, though, I will say that they have a very clean way to deal with player count. Like, it's so simple to adjust. So if you're playing at 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're not having to do a lot of heavy lifting as far as like, how does that change this? No, it's pretty much a multiplier.
That's
so
right.
that is a good thing. But I'm with you. For me, this is a solo game. I have played it. I have played it with other people, but for me, this is probably more a solo game.
And the very last thing I want to mention here before I get final thoughts, and then, of course, anything you want to mention as well, is just the production in general. Chip Theory Games is known for their high level of production, so all the cards are going to be plastic, the neoprene mats, just... I hate to say over the top because to me I love it, So I mean over the top in like the absolute best way possible. It has the poker chips, everything you expect from Chip Theory Games is right in line with it. So that is going to lead into that high price point, and that's not something we talk a lot about. Is the price point? I feel like everyone has their own price point about what's worth it to them, so not opining on that, but it does have a higher price point. But it does come with those deluxe components out of the box. I really appreciate that, especially as much as you are manhandling, all the different cards and that kind of stuff, and it being all over the table. It is very much appreciated. I do wish that the map itself didn't look so plain. I think it doesn't. What sells the theme, what brings you into the world here is the character creation. Are those little nuggets of story that you're getting along the way. But the map itself is not really bringing that world. And so that's the one, I don't even know if I call that production, is that artwork, or is that, it's a little bit of everything, but it's a little lackluster.
Yeah, one of the downsides of neoprene is it's hard to get really sharp contrasts and pops of color, know, so there's a lot of grayscale going on.
Exactly. So, all right, with that, is there anything else that you wanted before we go into final thoughts here?
No, I think we covered it.
All right, well, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So this is a game that, as I said, for me, the hallmarks of it are the character customization, the breadth of the game. If you have an interest and a love of the IP and you like heavier games, to me, this is a no-brainer. You can really feel the care and the effort that went in to bring this lore in. I'm sure it was a very close collaboration with Bethesda and Chip Theory, and you can feel that, you can see that. Even though I'm not familiar with it, I don't have a lot of doubt that it's there. It is a game that requires a lot of investment of the player. You can say that about many of Chip Theory's games. If you've played them before, you kind of know what you're getting here. So with all of that, I do think that it's a pretty impressive achievement. It's a game that I probably will not be continuing to play throughout the years, just because I think this is one of those games where if you're going to play it, you want to play it all the way through, and that's just not part of my lifestyle. That doesn't take away from the actual design of the game. I think that this is a really, really impressive design. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I would probably come a bit higher if it was one that I felt like was one that I would be more interested, excited about introducing new people to and teaching. That's just not, if somebody comes to me with a love of it and, hey, can you help me out with this? I would do that, but it would feel like a bit of a burden, to be quite honest with you. So an 8 out of 10 for me, spectacular design, but one that I probably will not be further exploring.
Got it. I am very similar to you, just coming in higher. I'm going to come in at a 9 for the game. Ooh. I love Too Many Bones. It's in my top 5 games of all times. And I think I can say mechanically I enjoy this system better. The reason it's not a 10 for me is because, same thing you said, just the theme itself. I still have that little bit of, it feels a little generic because I don't have that background. That's a me problem. That's not the game. I don't love I believe they're called delves that you can go into. I find those are distracting. They almost feel like this modular weird expansion, so I just so there's that whole part of the game that I don't really care for or delve into. And so but other than that, gosh, do I love this system. I really love the character creation. This feels like, to me, if I played Too Many Bones and I was like, I kind of want to make my own character. What would
Yeah.
that be like? Here's your chance. You know, if you ever wanted to make your own gadget or your own, whatever, like,
sure.
this is what it feels like. And it's so unique and it's so exciting. There's so many really neat moments. I've been in games, I believe in the live play that we did. It was a while ago now, but I believe I even like died in it or I got knocked out in it.
Yeah, maybe so.
But it didn't, but I was still so invested in what we were doing and the characters and the exploration, and just, I was still there the whole time, and I got excited after that bottle. Okay, woo, or after that battle, woo, okay, I'm revived. What can I do now? How do I go on? How, I now see my weaknesses. How can I tweak this character to make it work? Gosh, it's exciting. I really, really like it. So for me, it's not one that replaces Too Many Bones, but it is kind of a different take on it. And it's one that I'm absolutely stoked to continue to explore. And it's one that I want to explore often enough that I don't forget how to play.
Yeah.
Because it is such an undertaking to jump in. But for me, I think it's an excellent game. It's going to be a 9. That's going to do it for us for Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. Thanks for joining us here at the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see ya.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.